Okay, today we have a special treat, and no bones about it that on Dentaltown you're known as Tinkerbell. I tell everybody you're my favorite dentist in the whole world. While all the other practice management people just talk about getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the average overhead is 65%, and labor is 20% in the rural America. It's up to 25 to 28 in the urban America. You are the only person I know, Gigi, that has no employees. And you're also the only person I know who does all their lab work. You're also the only person I know who, you post impressions on removable partials and dentures that are just mind-blowing. And so I'm really, really looking forward to this interview. So first of all, let's start off with this. You graduated in 2007 from UCSF. You're in the San Francisco Bay Area, correct?
Yes.
And so first let's talk about, why are you the only person I know that has no employees? And I bet you have probably the lowest overhead in town too.
I think I probably have the lowest overhead in the country.
What is your overhead?
Okay. In terms of percentage?
Percentage, yeah.
Probably about 35.
35? That is amazing. So how did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to be a full service by yourself, no employees? I'd almost call it a dental spa. I mean, you're the doctor, and they just, when they come in, they're only going to see or deal with you.
Well, it's by default. So I had 2 employees, and one day they decided not to show up. So I realized, hey, life is better without them. And the first month it was great because I make so much money and I didn't have to pay anyone's salary. And I said, hey, let's keep it that way. I work shorter times. I get to go home earlier, spend more time with my kids. I don't have to stress out trying to get who does what they should do and check them back and all that stuff. And I say, hey, life is great. I make more money that year. Then next year I start doing the same. But ever since I haven't had employees, I make more money. My practice keep on growing. None of my patients left. So I said, hey, let's do it this way.
I think a lot of dentists don't realize that basically their main mission in life is to create jobs. I mean, I see dentists just running from room to room all day long, and basically what they're working for is for this huge payroll. And then whenever you talk about overhead, the last thing they want to do is make their own temporary or learn how to do any dentistry. And then here's Gigi, you do all of your own lab work. You also, how did you get so interested in removable? And what percent of your practice is removable?
70% is removable.
And what are you talking about? Break that down into full dentures versus partials.
Not a lot of partials, Howard. About maybe 10 partials a year, but the rest is just full dentures or dentures with locators or bars. But I try to minimize the partials department because, first of all, people don't wear their partials. Second, it takes a long time to make. I try to get them into doing implants. If they're missing like 2-3 teeth, try talk them into doing implants.
So are you placing your own implants?
I place a lot of implants. I place implants for many general dentists. I restore my own implants. So all days that I place my own implants, I have a really good assistant that comes and help me.
And so how does one go about? I mean, you're a newbie, you're a baby, you only got out of school in 2007. How did you, in just 7 years, develop a practice that's 70% removable? Do you advertise just for full dentures? Is that a big part of your marketing campaign?
I don't market a lot. Like in 2008, I opened my practice. Okay, 1 year after I graduated from dental school, I found this place and I did a startup. I opened my practice. So 2010, I started doing marketing with like dentures. So I hired Jerry Jones to write me a piece of marketing on dentures. So he did. And I had lots of denture patients come in 2010 and 2011 because I did a lot of marketing. But after that, I kind of, tone it down a little bit. So now I spend about $5,000 a year doing that. And I just do it on newspapers. I didn't do any other forms of marketing anymore.
Only newspaper advertising.
Yes.
And that's probably because senior citizens, is it fair to say that most people who need a denture are a senior citizen?
Yeah, mostly. Except those are meth addicts and stuff like that. But we don't have a lot of that in California. You probably have more of that in rural America than in California.
Bakersfield's hit hard with meth. I got a couple buddies in Bakersfield. They said it's an explosion in Bakersfield.
Bakersfield is like 300 miles from me.
Right.
Yeah.
And Johnny Carson called Bakersfield the armpit of California.
Oh yeah, it's really hot down there. With lots of oil booms. It's one of the biggest oil boom in California right now.
Is that right? Is that fracking or just
I don't think they're allowed to frack.
Okay.
They just do the pump jacks.
So Gigi, why? I mean, if I got 100 dentists in a room and said, raise your hand if you love making dentures, I don't think anybody would raise their hand. How come you raised your hand? What made you? Is it just an amazing attitude, or as a strategic business, did you realize dentists don't like dentures, so you're going to step in for a niche market play, or how did this come about that you got into removable?
It's a bit of both. It's a little bit of both. So my area happens to have a lot of seniors living in there. So I walk around after I opened my practice. I didn't even know what area I was doing. I didn't even do a demographic search or anything. So after I opened my practice a few months later, I drove around the area and I saw lots of senior citizens housing and stuff. And I'm like, geez, I need to start making removable. So, I learned, I took lessons, I took Cs, I spent a lot of money on Cs, I spent an incredible amount on Cs. I took mid class and all that stuff.
Took whose class?
Learn how to do it.
Well, and if someone was decided you were gonna be the role model, give them advice on what CE do you recommend to learn removable?
Oh my God, most of the removable, believe it or not, the principle, I read Mitch text, okay, and I haven't been to his broth class yet, so I don't know how good that is and how much you can learn from that in terms of removable. But believe it or not, I try on the very first day that I start doing removable. I started doing my lab work because I realized that would be the only way and the fastest way to get my skills up to speed to the highest level. Otherwise, I would never get it there.
Another reason you're my idol. I too joined the Mish camp right out of school, got my fellowship in the Mish Institute, and Carl says that the reason he became basically the #1 implantologist around the world is because he first was a prosthodontist and he just did removable. And when he started looking at implants, he kept seeing these implants snapping off of the gum line and dentists getting mad at the implant manufacturer. And he was looking at how they were attaching the removable and said, you don't even understand forces. You don't understand removable. You can't have an ill-fitting denture snap onto implants. It's just not going to work. And so that cross training, I also think a lot of the craziest TMJ theories I've ever seen in a lecture, you can just tell the person's never done a single orthodontic case in their life. I mean, if they just did one ortho case, they'd realize half of what they were saying isn't reality because that's not what you see in orthodontics. And so I think dentistry is very, very powerful when you cross train. I mean, orthodontics helps you learn TMJ. Removable dentures helps you in implants. So where did you learn? So of all the courses you took on making a denture, Carl Mish's textbook was the best source of information?
I think the most important information I got is from college, and I had mentors who is a prosthodontist in town, and I came and learned from the guy, and I also went to the lab. My office is very close to a lab, to a dentist lab, so I go down there and I look at everyone impressions, everyone cast, and I realize what I should not do. You learn it from there. You learn from looking at things, touching things. You don't just go to CEs, because you go to CE, you listen to what they say in 2 days. You go home, maybe you remember 5 things, maybe even not. So you better off doing it.
So give them a takeaway. One thing Arizona has is one of the largest removable partial denture laboratories in the world in Nogales, Arizona. Actually, wow. They're all shipped into Nogales, United States, and then they're driven across the border into Mexico. And they have this massive framework laboratory that literally casts hundreds of partials per day. And the thing that amazed me is I spent an entire day there from 8 to 5, and 95% of the partial impressions that came in the lab scripts, the dentist didn't even cut a single receipt. I mean, there was it just said lower partial, and it was an alginate of a lower. It's like, really? You couldn't even design a partial or cut a receipt? What are you seeing when you go into the labs?
I just want to throw up.
And go into detail why.
Well,
because a lot of these people, they come out of school, they would go work for an older guy. He says, don't worry about it, just take an impression in the lab. They'll do it all from there. And that's not necessarily correct. So a lot of dentists don't know what they're doing because they don't see what everyone else is doing. So why, when you walk into a removable lab and it makes you want to throw up, explain why.
Okay. I have never seen a good impressions from a GP, and that make me disgusting. That make me feel disgusted. Okay, so I'm sad because, first of all, you spent 4 years in dental school, you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can't even have a really decent, halfway good looking impressions to represent your name with the lab guy. That's wrong.
And what are, you're talking about alginate impressions, or?
Yeah, I'm talking about alginate impressions. Just a simple alginate impressions of a cast for the mirror framework. Okay, well, walk us through how you do your routine alginate impression for an upper and lower. Okay, so you got to learn your materials. Doesn't matter whether an expensive materials or a cheap materials, whatever you do, you got to know your materials, your speed, your working time, whatever, your temperatures. Let's say if you live in Texas and you live in Galveston, Texas, it's gonna take faster for your alginate to set in Galveston, Texas, or Phoenix, Arizona versus San Francisco in the summer, where it's always 55 degrees. So you got to know. So the first thing when you buy any products, you look at the material, you say, where should it be stored? And you store that box exactly where the box says where you should be. You take the temperatures of your room, whatever. And for myself, I think I learned this from Mitch. I tell patients, don't wear anything the night before and let the gum relax. And the first thing they do when they get up in the morning is get to my office, whatever that time is. And I try to take alginate impressions between 7 to 10 a.m. And, I think alginate works best during that time where my office is located. And Gigi, what type of alginate are you using? What brand? I use the a.k.a. 2 system, the blue injections. For alginate? Yeah.
Was
Doesn't
that somebody getting an impression?
no.
So you use Accudent 2
Yes.
alginate impression system?
Yeah. Doesn't matter whether it's a study model or whatever.
And why did you choose Accudent 2?
Because I've tried many different materials, and that's the best one I can come up with.
And we also for the international dentists, the Japanese use alginates for crown and bridge, but they use a much more refined alginate. Is that are they using the Accudent also?
I don't know what they use. I
Yeah.
don't really know. That's interesting.
Yeah, Japanese. They so you're right. It's not the material. Whether it's polyether, polyvinyl, it just doesn't matter. If you know your material and you master it, you can do exquisite dentistry. And I've seen exquisite dentistry done with different materials all around Earth. I mean, it's amazing. So so on your first impression, are you using edentulous trays?
I use edentulous tray. I bought edentulous tray when I was a third year dental student. So in dental school, the dental school kids is really funny. It didn't have edentulous tray. So I went online and bought it because I read in the book. I read in the textbook, the edentulous textbook. It say you use the edentulous stock tray, and I looked and I said, we don't have that tray. So I went online and bought that tray when I was third year in dental school, and I'm still using them.
How many different trays are there for an upper and a lower on your tray system? What edentulous tray system would you recommend?
I don't know. I forgot. I think it's the COE trays, the GC trays, but whatever that I think I paid $299 for it, for the whole system. But it has like 4 uppers and 4 lower sides, and I think that's really good. And after the alginate trays, if I just make the removable complete, or depends, I make a custom tray.
So what percent of the time after you take an edentulous alginate impression of upper and lower, are you just using that to make a custom tray and then take a...
Yes.
Okay, so then you'll make your own custom tray?
Uh-huh.
And is this the light activated material where you put the material on soft and put it in the light?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Will you go over that system and the name of that and the brand and all that? I like to try to do these so when somebody's listening, they can just follow you exactly and instead of having to stop 20 times and say, oh, I wonder what I should do next. What tray system are you using?
What the tray system? I think
to
I
make
use
a custom tray.
Okay, the Stern Tech.
Stern Tech?
Yeah, I think so. Stern Tech. I can give you the information when I get to the office, but I think it's Stern Tech or Stern Gold materials. Like, does that sound right?
Yeah, Stern Gold, and then you put it into the thing where the light.
The triad light box.
The triad light.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and just for my viewers out there that when I was listening to podcasts, what I didn't like is having to stop and take notes. So what we do, Gigi, is we do a transcript of our deal, so they don't have to, so if they're out there on their bicycle or at the gym or doing Pilates, they don't have to stop. And then anything you want to email me of names and all that. So then when you make the custom tray, then you're taking are you using a polyether, a polyvinyl? What are you doing for the second impression? Are you still going back to alginate with that?
It depends. If you do partial, you go back to alginate.
But that's only 10 for you a year.
Yeah, I try not to do too many partials.
So for your implants, what impression material are you using?
Implant, I try to do just the heavy body and the light body. That's for
polyether or polyvinyl?
Polyvinyl, PVS.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what brand are you using?
I use the Aquasil.
Aquasil?
Yeah.
Is that caulk?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so then let's switch gears to I think you're covering that nicely. Well, what are you looking for when you take an alginate? How many times do you take an alginate on your edentulous traces, and do you look at that and have to retake it and take another one? What tips would you give them for the alginate and for the custom tray on taking a great impression?
Well, you got to have all your anatomies there. Everything has to be there. The tray has to be seated completely. You cannot be short. If you short from the alginate, then your tray is short and everything is messed up. You cannot have bubbles. You cannot have any defects. In fact, your alginate impression has to look really, really perfect. It has to look as the textbook, the picture. So if that is screwed up, then every subsequent steps will be screwed up.
So that's the base of the pyramid that everything's built on, is that alginate impression. So for the master like you, do you usually get it first try, or is a perfectionist like you usually have to take 2 or 3?
No, well, depends on the day. I try to take 1, but occasionally, you know, sometimes you're too slow and the alginate set and it doesn't have a good injections. You know, the Aquident system is an injection system, so it doesn't have a good flow. Then sorry, you know, have to take another one. But that's rare. The first year I did, I have to retake so many times. Aquident. I tell you, the first year it was awful. I didn't know that my hands only work with that Aquident system between 7 to 10. I started taking impressions at 2 o'clock when it was 100 degrees outside and it was too hot, and we screw up.
Now, are you having them go through mouth functions when you're taking the lower alginate, or do you have them stick out the tongue?
Yeah, we do all that.
Well, can you go over that briefly?
Okay, so have them like stick your tongue up and do the suctioning motions and all that. You know, exactly what you did in dental school. Stick your tongue, move it up and down. Say R if you do the upper. And on the lower, do a suction motion. Tell them, hey, pretending you're sucking on a layman, and they do it for you.
Okay. So then, so now let's transfer over to implants. So when did you start getting interested in placing implants? Are you doing it with 2-dimensional X-rays, or did you go to 3-dimensional CAT scan X-rays like the CBCT, or start walking us through the implant? And first of all, what % of your full denture cases are you using implants on?
I mostly do for lower dentures only, and they are not a lot because not everyone can afford it. You know, I try to we'll probably do a few cases a month, but we try to get them to do it. But some people just can't afford it. Some people are too old or not a candidate for surgery. Some people don't have bones, whatever.
So you probably almost never do it on the upper denture. Is that what you're saying?
Almost never.
Almost never.
Almost
and
never.
On the lower, or is it like what % of your lower dentures would you say you're using implants with? Is it like 10%? Is it
maybe
5?
25, maybe 25.
Well, that's a lot. 1 in 4. 1 in 4 is a lot. And are you talking about 2 implants with a ball and snap on, or are you talking 4 implants with a hater bar, Dolder bar? What are you talking?
Locators most of the time.
2 implants?
Yeah, 2 implants, locators case most of the time.
And what implant system did you go with, and why?
I use Legacy 3 with Implant Direct because they have so many brass components and it's really easy to restore them. You know, you have a lot of choices. They have the excellent GPS.
Excellent what?
A GPS system.
Oh, okay.
That they do for the abutment there. So I really like it.
So you're going Implants Direct, which is in California. Mm-hmm. Now, honestly, did you just use that because they're in California?
No, actually, the manufacturers is in Las Vegas, so they ship it from Vegas.
They ship it from Vegas. Did you ever meet the oral surgeon who founded that company, Jerry Nisnik?
I don't think so.
My gosh!
Met him.
Oh my gosh! The guy.
I think he is something else, but he's brilliant.
Oh yeah, he is brilliant and genius and something else. So you're using Jerry Nisnik's Implants Direct, the Legacy 3 system.
Yes.
And you also said the GPS system.
Yeah, the abutment.
For the abutment. The GPS abutment on the Legacy 3 system. Okay. And how did Gigi go about learning to place your first implant? Did you also just read Carl Misch's book, or did?
Well, I read Carl Mich in my 4th year dental school. I think I bought that book, the implant surgeries book. So I bought that book when I was in 4th year, and I really like it. So 2007, when I first started working, I went to take classes with implant seminars in LA.
Now, was that through Implants Direct? I know they put a
No,
lot.
implant seminars with Arun.
Oh, Arun Garg.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I did the master series, and then I went to Dominican Republic and learned how to place them on live persons, and it was very nice that, you know, when I get there, I learned with a really good oral surgeons and did great things there. So
how many days were you in the Dominican Republic?
3 days, I think.
And how many implants and patients did you get us do in 3 days?
I think we got 20 implants each they gave us, and use them all up, and I think they gave me some more, 2 or 3 more, and I did them all, and we did a lot of sinus lift. It was really crazy.
And were you drinking tropical drinks on the beach while you were placing these?
No, I didn't even go anywhere near the beach. I didn't even see the beach. It was so bad of a trip. We were in the hospital until like 10 o'clock every night.
Well, that's good. You got your money's worth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really worth it, because had a lot of fun, and then came back and started placing implants. So the first 2 years after that, I was really skeptical, and I did con beam CD every single case. I've tried, you know, the stand, the digital stand that make everything. And then, you know, like you said, the cross training with the removables make me really good with the angulation. So I realized, you know, anyone that I have looked at them and I have like look at the mouth and I can really feel the bones with my hands, I can just lay a flap and place an implant and anyone can restore it.
So, go back to the 3D. So when you first started, you were using a lot of 3D, but did you buy a 3D machine?
No, I send patients to go get a 3D. I don't buy a 3D. I would love to, but I don't even have any rooms in my office anymore to like put a 3D.
How big is your office, being the only person in there?
900 square feet.
And how many operatories?
I have 3 ops, and I tore out the biggest op to do my lab. So now I have 2 ops. But doing removable, I don't need a lot of rooms.
Yeah. So you send out your for your 3Ds for your implant cases?
Yeah.
And what percent of your implant cases do you send out for a 3D now?
None.
None. So you just did for the first couple of years?
Yeah, the first 2 years I did, but I haven't seen anything. I haven't sent any patients out to get cotton beam in 13 and 14 so far, and I place a lot of implants every month.
But you're mostly placing implants anterior on the mandible in front of the mental foramen, correct?
Yes, and no, but I also place implants for other GPs. So those are single crowns, and I place a lot of them, and they really love it. They said they can just put the stock abutment on and restore it.
So, Gigi, so how are you, what is your fail-safe way to make sure you're not hitting the mental foramen or the anterior loop and not getting any paresthesia in the lower lip when you're placing anterior implants in the mandible for a snap-on lower denture?
Okay, so go back to your anatomy class in the first quarter of dental school. Is you start feeling the only way you sure is you can feel, put your hands there, feel the mental foramen, stay away from it.
So you feel that with your gloves on inside the mouth, you can feel the mental foramen.
Yeah, I can put my fingers in my mouth and feel it. We all did that in dental school.
Well, I wouldn't say we all did that.
They make us do that.
So do you put the patient at 12 o'clock, reach, right in your head and reach down there and fill the mental foramen, and then are you laying a full flap or are you doing a tissue punch through the mandible?
I flap every single case I place. I very rarely, very, very rarely, I do a tissue punch.
Okay, and are you dissecting out the mental foramen on both sides just so you can see and visualize where that's at?
Yeah, I do. I would dissect if I'm that far, but usually I never go that far to, like way out there to the mental foramen to just say, hey, I'm near it. I'm near the danger zone that I have to gonna be dissect. But if I'm in the danger zone, I would.
So are you usually placing 2 implants or 4 or 3 or what is your standard
Depends.
protocol?
I don't have a set thing. It's based on the patient's anatomy.
Okay, well tell us what you're looking for and what changes your diagnosis and treatment plan on number of implants.
Okay, so the first thing I do is if they say they want to get an implant, I'll take an alginate cast and I'll look at the cast and I see if the dentures, if 2 implants are good enough, then I'll do 2. But if they have a U shape and there's a really big arch, I would say go with 3 at the minimum or 4 if they can afford it. But if it's a small arch, I would say just do 2.
Okay. And do you have any personal contraindications, like if they reach a certain age or if they're diabetic or they're smokers, or has that not been a factor with your implant success?
I try not to touch a smoker. But if they sign consent forms and they say, but it depends on how much they smoke. If they smoke 2-3 cigarettes a day, it wouldn't be a big issue. I put them on Chantix. I try to convince them to take Chantix, like at least a few months before we do it. So they kind of wane it off, stay away from smoking a little bit, so it would be successful. Until the implant is good, like 3 months after, then go ahead and smoke back. It wouldn't be bad anymore. It's not as risky anymore.
Because I would think that people who wear dentures have a higher rate of smoking or past history of smoking than people who have all their teeth, and smoking is related to tooth loss.
Yes, absolutely.
So what percent of your denture patients would you say have a history of smoking?
Oh, probably 90% of them.
And what percent of them are still smoking at the time they need the denture?
Most people, like, none now. None.
So the cultural change in America, they say after World War II, half the adults smoke. Now they're saying it's a quarter. So you're saying that what you're seeing in San Francisco Bay Area is that they probably smoking contributed to losing their teeth in the past. But when they show up to you, it's not an immediate denture, it's a replace an existing denture, and they no longer smoke.
Yes, it's very rare to find an active smoker. I probably have 2 or 3 patients who are active smokers in my practice.
And what percent of your dentures are new immediate dentures versus replacing an old existing denture?
I don't do a lot of immediate dentures. It's very rare. Very, very rare.
So it's basically replacing. You're
replacing existing dentures. Yeah, most of the time.
And what would you say the average age of this patient in your office is getting replaced an existing denture?
I don't know. They range anywhere from 50 to like 106.
You have a 106-year-old?
Yes.
Oh my God! You should have posted that on Facebook.
She is really, really healthy. She doesn't take any medications, and she can still drive.
That's probably why she's 106, because she doesn't take any medications.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I noticed a.k.a. a few years ago came out with a new higher end denture tooth. Let's talk about denture teeth and cosmetics. Do you remember what was the a.k.a.? Was it the Bluetooth or the?
I I don't know. I never use Ivoclar teeth.
What teeth are you using, and what about cosmetics? I mean, what percent of these dentures are women versus men?
Oh my God. I think I see more women than men.
And is that
More women than men. Probably 60 to 65% of my patients are women.
and I assume women want high cosmetic dentures. Are you making them to where any dentist sitting across the table would know that's a denture, or do you try to make them look more natural or cosmetic? Or talk about the what you're artistically, cosmetically, what you're trying to
Okay.
your thoughts.
Vita has really nice teeth. I really like Vita teeth. If they want that kind of teeth, I have samples, so I show them. If not, I just use the regular, dent supply teeth, the IPM teeth.
So if they're don't mention cosmetic, use Dentsply IPN teeth, and if it's a high cosmetic case, you're using Vita teeth.
Yeah, like I show them. I have samples of denture set in both teeth, so I just show them. I like, this is this and this is that. The costs are not too much of a difference. Choose whatever you want to choose.
And then do you line them up straight as if they just walked out of braces and bleaching, like a Hollywood smile, or do you try to add some imperfections so it looks natural, or what is your thoughts there?
Well, I try imperfections, but I don't want to be a dictator, so I don't want to say, hey, this is my style, I tell them, okay, I can tilt the tooth a little bit. We do 2 times trying, the anterior trying and the posterior trying, so I can tilt the teeth a little bit. I can line them up perfectly, look like, the textbook look or whatever. So they have input, or they bring in pictures of them when they were young, and they show me, I want my teeth to look like this. So we try to make it look, we try to comply the patients.
So you're saying if I took a picture of myself when I was in high school to my barber, he could cut my hair like it was when I was in high school?
Try not to.
So what percent would you say in California? I mean, as a man who grew up in Kansas for 25 years and lived in Arizona for 28 years, you always think Californians have the highest cosmetic desires and wants and needs. What percent of your 50 to 75-year-old ladies want just as white as they can be, as straight as they can be, just look like they just had veneers done?
I tell you, I've never had anyone go for A2 teeth. Probably 98% of the teeth that I've ordered are A1 shade.
A1?
Yes.
I would have guessed in California it would have been all B1.
No, it's A1. B1 is too dead. But A1, my lab tech, he kind of make fun of me. He said A1 is the official shade of your office.
And it's the official steak sauce in my house. By the way, you post some amazing dishes. You're a phenomenal cook too, aren't you?
No, I'm not really phenomenal. I like to cook, but not really special.
The dishes you post, the pictures of are to die for. In fact, I want to talk about that a little bit, Gigi. I don't want to draw attention to the fact that you're a woman, but you are. And when I was in dental school, the senior class only had one. The person I interviewed before you, Barry he had no women in his dental school. Barry Glassman, who teaches sleep. Now, dental schools are 45% of the graduates are women. You said at the onset that you have a husband, and you said kids. You didn't say how many. Do you have 1 or 2? Or
I have 1.
Yeah, I thought you said kids plural, which kind of surprised me because I only seen pictures of 1. So is it different, do you think, for the average female American dentist having to play mom and play dentist, and you were saying earlier that not having staff, you had less overhead, you could go home early, spend more time with your children. Talk about you're obviously a role model in so many different ways, but talk about issues of being a woman dentist who has children and a husband, and how you balance being a super mom with a super dentist.
I'm not sure if I ever put it in that way. I don't know. I try to go home early to spend time with my kids, in the afternoon. I think it's important to spend the time with him after he get off school.
What time does he get out of school, and how old is he?
Oh, back then he got out of school at 3:30. He's 20 now, so he's in college. But back then he's finished at 3:30, and I try to go home at least at the latest 5, so I can see what he's up to, and and make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do. So now I don't really have to worry about him that much. The great things about it is about me. I think my situation is different, is that I went to school. I started dental school when my kid was already 9 years old. So
Really?
yeah, I did not really have to struggle between an office and a young child. So it's really, really a grateful things, because otherwise it would be very, very difficult to spend so much time to go away and take CEs and try to improve your hand skill doing whatever I need to do, and having to worry about a little kid is not gonna happen. I think if any female dentist who is in their 20s trying to do what I'm doing, it's gonna be very extremely difficult.
So you
unless they don't have kids.
So you recommend not having children in dental school?
I don't even think having children when you first start out and you're trying to get your skill up to speed, and at least in the first 5 years of practicing dentistry is very wise, because you take at least 5 years to master some kind of skill. If you don't devote the time, it's not gonna happen. Are you just gonna get by? Skill just doesn't come overnight, I think. So you're gonna have to devote in sometimes, whatever that is.
Absolutely. And being good at what you're doing is a big component of happiness. It's hard to be happy when you go to work every day and you're lousy at your job. I mean, imagine a football player that went to, every time they played in a game,
Yeah.
they never caught the ball. Actually, they would probably play for the 49ers.
49ers. No, they probably play for the California Golden Bears, more like it.
So
That's my team.
What is your team? The Golden Bears?
Yeah, the California Golden Bears.
What sport is that?
The UC Berkeley Golden Bears.
Oh, college football.
Yeah, the college goal one.
So you like college football better than the 49ers?
Oh yeah.
You just like the high scoring game where people are playing for free as opposed to the professionals.
Yeah, the tickets are cheaper.
And the tickets are cheaper. You always have an eye on cost. That's what I love about you. Now, Gigi, you've talked openly in the past that you've also, now that your child has gone to college, that now you see the whole world as a canvas and the United States, and you've even thought about maybe even relocating your office. Are you still thinking those thoughts, or walk through the thinking process of now that your child's in college, that you could go anywhere?
Well, I would love to live somewhere, where there's no tax. Or less
Again,
tax.
you're always cutting over it. You have no staff. You watch college ball instead of the 49ers for lower tax, right? And now you're looking at a state with no income tax. So what states are we talking about? Texas, Nevada. What states have no income tax that got your attention?
Oh, there are 7 of them.
7? Do you know all 7?
I don't know. I don't remember them on top of my head. But who likes to pay tax? Do you know any person who likes to pay tax?
Maybe. No. No, absolutely not.
So I don't like paying tax.
Well, you're in California. That's a high tax state. What is your state income tax out there?
like 10%.
10%?
Yeah, and our sales tax is close to 10% too, 9.75, I think.
So you have to pay. Oh, when you buy something, it's
Yeah,
almost
anything
10%.
we buy, we almost 10% more.
Almost 10%. So if you buy something, it's a 10% tax, and then your state income tax is 10%. So you're looking at states that don't have a sales tax or an income or a state income tax.
Yeah, it would save you a lot of working years.
Well, I'm out here in Phoenix, Gigi, and almost every new patient family that I got, I mean, at least 10% of all of Arizona moved in from California, and the number one reason they moved in from California is because to escape taxes and regulation. They just said it's not a pro-business environment, and they just moved their company out here, and it was a lot less. Yeah.
I'm not alone.
So have you ever thought about coming to Phoenix?
Well, not sure. I don't have an Arizona license. I have a California license. I have Texas license. I have Georgia license. I don't have an active Arizona license. So.
Well, a lot of dentists in Arizona don't even have a license.
What are you talking about? That is not even funny.
That is true. It's immigrants. There's a lot of dental offices in Phoenix, Arizona, in apartment complexes and trailer homes where they just moved up from Central and South America, and they work on people who immigrated here. And I see dentistry all the time, and I'll say, well, where does this dentist practice? And they go, oh, he's in such and such apartment complex. He's in one, on the third floor. He just has one chair in his room. And Europe has another problem. After the Bosnia-Croatian War, a lot of people felt sorry for the refugees and said, we'll honor your license. So a lot of people just went and manufactured a dental license. And it's amazing how many dentists all throughout Europe who said they went to dental school in Bosnia or Herzegovina or Croatia or whatever, literally bought a diploma on eBay or just on the internet and are practicing dentistry and never went to one day of school.
How do they know what they're doing?
For
me, I spent a lot of money on CEs after dental school.
So did you put yourself through dental school, or were you lucky enough to have parents that paid the way? Or
I paid everything for all my educations from undergrad to dental school.
You weren't a spoiled little princess where daddy paid for everything?
No, I wish.
You wish?
I wish I have a rich daddy. No, I don't.
So are you paying for your son's college, or are you making him learn that tough lesson himself, even though you could help him?
I have been paying everything. I pay for private school from kindergarten all the way up. I pay for Stanford, 3 years of Stanford and 4 years for Berkeley right now. Wow.
That is I had to put myself through 100%. I didn't get one dime's help from my parents. And then it was very troubling because I had 4 boys, and I thought, well, maybe that's a big part of my success. Maybe I should make them crawl through dirt and eat government cheese. And, it was a hard time putting yourself through dental school. Did you have trouble making that decision with your child? I mean, did you think maybe it should be tough love and just make him just crawl through the gutter like we did? Or do you think both of us paid our kids to go to college, or do you think that was okay?
Well, I'm a softie and my husband is a softie. We are both softie when it comes to the kids, so we just pay.
Yeah.
We have no choice. Plus, my son was very young when he started out to college, so we said, got to pay for it. He's too young. I don't think he would qualify for a loan or anything like that, so we just pay.
Gigi, are there any more questions that I'm not smart enough to be asking you about your practice with no employees, your practice focused on removable, placing your own implants, mixing super mom with super dentist? Because I've only got you for 10 more minutes. Is there any
I don't know. What is your interest? I mean, I don't know if anybody who listen to this podcast, I don't know what they really want to learn from me. Because I mean, there are not that many dentists who want to do, removables.
Well, that would mean, I mean, supply and demand. If everybody sells a red widget and there's a market for blue, it might be smart to do blue. The fastest growing segment of the American population is women over 100. Second is women 90 to 100. Third is women 80 to 90. I mean, those upper age groups of females is the fastest growing segment of any demographics you look at. And overhead just keeps inching higher and higher and higher. And a lot of that's tied to labor. So you've given them a lot of advice to think about. By the way, are you participating in any insurance plans?
No.
No insurance, just cash only?
Yes, most of the time.
And do you report any of it to the IRS?
I do.
Or do you just have a big box of cash out in the back office?
We do. Usually I just bury my cash in the coffee can.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do. We have to, because we have to give patient the receipt. In comes of troubles, they come back up. But back to what you were saying, and I think this is very important. Doesn't matter where you practice in America. This is the way the population goes. So even you say you don't want to have anything to do with stone in your practice, you don't want to have blaster in your practice, but you will have to. The best thing to do is to take an alginate impressions, a really good alginate impressions, and pull it right away. Don't delay. The minute that impressions get out of your mouth, you spray it and disinfect it. You have to pull it with vacuum mixer. So you got to do it, because there's no way you're not gonna do. You got to learn the skill and you got to perfect it. There's no way you avoid doing it unless you practice next to a prosthodontist.
So Gigi, you said 70% of your practice removable. What is the other 30%? What else is on your menu?
Crown bridge, implants, a lot. I have about 10 little kids. They're really cute. I love seeing them.
Do you place amalgams or only composites, or?
Well, it depends. If it's a huge and deep MOD, people can't afford the crowns, I would do an amalgam versus composite, because I can do that better than composite. But
it's also critical thinking. I think when a doctor says, I treat a population of 1,000 people and I don't have certain modalities like an amalgam, it just makes me think, well, you're not even a critical thinker. I mean, are you telling me there's zero indications where an amalgam would not be better than an inert plastic composite? It's a man, maybe they got root surface decay. It just blows my mind how people are doctors and they're supposed to be intelligent, critical thinkers, and they're just missing complete categories of treatment.
Oh, I love amalgam.
Yeah.
It would be very hard for me to get rid of it. There's like my patients, by the time they get to me, their decays, they have their cavities, I don't know when they was 15, 20s. Now they in their 70s and 80s, the decays are big. You have to use amalgam unless they can afford a crown. And some people don't want a crown or can't afford it or whatever reason.
And the antibacterial properties of the tin ion, and the amalgam, it's half mercury, the other half silver, zinc, copper, tin. Just like the hygienists use stannous fluoride, which has tin ions. It's the tin ions flying out of the amalgam that retard the biological infection of Streptococcus mutans, root surface decay. I mean, it just drives me crazy when I see some lady wheeled in from a wheelchair home and she had 10 root surface cavities placed, a year ago, all inert plastic composite. They didn't use glass ionomers. They could have used amalgam, and nothing lasted a year with root surface decay. And the person who did it was a cosmetic dentist. It's like,
Yeah.
really, a cosmetic dentist on a lady with Alzheimer's and dementia and rheumatism who doesn't even know her daughter's name? Really, doctor?
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. That's really sad. That some people just like black label amalgam and get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah. It shows that you're not a critical thinker.
Yeah, I also is a big believer in Canberra.
You review
I'm a big
Canberra real
believer.
quick. CAMBRA, the caries.
Risk assessment managed by management. Yeah, that's probably one of the most critical thing to all the success in my practice in terms of crown bridge.
Well, I only got you for 5 more minutes. Spend the last 5 minutes, if it's that important to you, reviewing Canberra and tell them why that's important for you. Because I bet 9 out of 10 dentists don't think about Canberra. Why is it so important to you?
Camera is so important. You have to put people on camera if they have cavities. If their gums are not in good shape, you clean their teeth, tell them to go home and use that chlorhexidine for 2 weeks. Come back. You will see how amazing the gum is. Most of the time, and most people will think I lie, but I would say 98% of the time, when I cut the crowns and I take impressions, I don't have any blood in it. It's really amazing.
And that's from putting them on chlorhexidine gluconate or Paradox for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Have them. I put all my patients who have teeth on camera.
And do you write them a prescription for that, or do you sell it to them out of your office?
I don't sell it. I write a prescription. They can get it at Costco, at Sam, wherever.
Do you have to have a prescription for it in California?
Yes. I purposely not selling it because people are gonna think, oh, she's making money, that's why she's selling me this stuff. But if I tell them this stuff is good for you, you will see the difference when you use it. Your gum will stop bleeding. These toothpastes are really, really great. If you use them, you won't have cavities. It will reduces the cavity chances and stuff like that if you brush and floss. So camera is a big success. It's improved all my success with crown bridge. I have very, very low failure rates in crown bridge in all my patients.
And I just realized we're at the end. I should have worn my hat that you made me. You're the only person on earth who would you crochet that or knitted that?
I knitted that.
That was true. That was the sweetest thing in the world. I could not believe when I got a package from you and I had my own personal Gigi knitted hat. What made you do that?
Well, you asked for it.
Well, I was teasing you because you were showing other things that you've knitted, right?
Yeah.
So I was teasing you, say, well, where's my knitted hat? And you actually did it.
Yeah, I knit hats for lots of people. I love wearing hats.
Yeah?
How cold is it in Phoenix? Is it cold enough to wear a hat?
Actually, the last 2 days, I always bike, swim, or run at 5 o'clock every morning. And the last 2 days, I've walked outside at 70 degrees, and I turned around and ran back in and got a jacket. When you're used to 110 for 6 months, when it drops 40 degrees to 70, it's freezing out here. But
yeah, that's tough.
And you always know who the Canadians are because they're running around half naked when it's 60 degrees or in shorts, and they're used to frozen tundra, and all the Phoenix people are looking like, who's that crazy person jogging down the street half naked? And it's a Canadian tourist. It would never be a local. And but Gigi, seriously, you are my favorite townie. I tell everybody my favorite dentist is you. You think outside the box. Your work ethic is amazing. I've been a huge fan of your posts on Dentaltown for years. You're just number one in my books in so many ways. You think outside the box. You're only true to yourself. You put quality first. I mean, I don't know anybody with 0 employees. You place your own implants. And to think you've done all this and you only graduated in 2007. I mean, you've only been out of school 7 years. I've been out 28 years. I mean, you are an amazing person, and it was a huge honor that you would spend an hour with me today on my podcast. And I want to thank you for all that you do for your patients, your family, for dentistry, and for Dentaltown.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for including me. I'm not even like a superstar dentist or anything. You just make it sound really, really wonderful.
No, Gigi, the impressions you post, the work you do, and to know that most dentists can't get that kind of work if they send it to the most expensive lab in the United States. And you post pictures from your impression, your models, your cases. I mean, every single thing that you post, I just look at that and think, damn. I mean, you maybe you only know yourself, but I know a ton of dentists, and you are an amazing dentist.
Trust me, Howard, if I can find an assistant who I can delegate to and do the exact quality of impressions, I would.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I'm 52, when I need my first denture, I'm going to you.
Perfect. That's the deal. It's going to be free.
I already got a free hat, so then you could match my hat with my free denture.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well,
Thank
hey,
you.
thanks again, Gigi. Hope you have a great day. Can't wait to see you again.
All right.
All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye.